It turns green though. Let me turn red. Oh, there, you're good. That's right. So here, I have all the ones for training 4 sites, all the ones for training 5, and then all the ones for 6, whenever you're ready. And I can help you.
Lamb chop lady.
Sherry Lewis.
Yeah.
I know that name.
Yeah.
Where's the plug? That's my favorite. I used to torture the children with that one all the time.
I vaguely remember that. I did the other day in
Nice.
I play Let It Go and Jason can do that. For yourself? He just let it go. Oh no, he doesn't like when I play Disney music in the car, so I get the Disney on my Pandora and I play it all. Tarzan, Lion King, When I was a little kid, I loved Jody. Which Jody was like the cartoon?
Obviously, there's coffee involved, because otherwise it won't be Oscar. And I know all of you have full-time needs, but there's no snoring, because otherwise I will throw something, because that's just rude.
Why are you pointing at me?
Because it's fun to do. We're working on menu planning. That's what we're here today for. And we're going through ingredients and stock items for today. As we progress over the next few weeks, we'll add the other sections of the menu planning to your wonderful piece of knowledge. Normally this class has anywhere from 1 to 3 people. Occasionally, I think I've had as many as 4 or 5, depending on who from the district wants to attend. Typically never more than that, so this is really fun to have a whole classroom. And we're going to, yes ma'am?
Did anybody in this room order Jimmy Jones? Very good.
Do we need to order out and somebody not eat? I am going to pick on somebody because when I do menu planning, I always have them do it hands-on. I never actually touch the keyboard. I never actually touch the mouse. I figure my people learn it much better if they're actually doing it rather than watching it. So, Jill, I'm picking on you today.
Sounds good.
You get to come up here and stop doing that. You just take the seat. Everything's duplicated on the big screen, so I will be up there. Mouse, keyboard. The place that we're working today, of course, is menu planning. When you click on that menu planning tab, it brings you to the splash screen. Gives you an idea of what you'll be looking at in the menu planning area. Still, if you'll click on ingredients, on the left that's where we'll actually be working today with ingredients. If you click on ingredients again.
No, somebody's got it on the speaker.
Oh, mute. There's mute the speakers.
Somebody's listening in.
I
thought they were. Let's mute all. Ah.
Oh, there you go. Now you're unmuted. You are muted at the top. Up there. Yes, I can hear you now.
Can y'all hear me now over the webinar? If you can type into the chat window to let me know, that'd be great.
You said they're good now.
Okay, cool. Now we switch into the tortilla chips. You'll see that it displays your ingredient number there at the top of the screen. Gives you the name of your ingredient, and it gives you an assortment of tabs. There are several different fields when you create it that get filled in. From your import, these are the ones that are filled in. Go ahead and scroll down for me. So you have your ingredient name, your ingredient short name, and those are what you entered in on your spreadsheet. The ingredient code is automatically generated in the software for you. So as you add new ingredients, those will go in numerical order and just add on to the list that's in there. Ingredient form you have as purchased, or do the drop down for me, as served. In many instances, some of your products may be put out exactly as you purchased them. You have a bagel, you're taking it out of that bag or out of the flat, and you're putting it straight out for the students to take. That would be an as purchased item. If you have a can of corn, you're going to pop open that can of corn and you're going to serve them a portion of it. You're not handing them over the entire number to a can of corn. So in that case, it's going to be as served. USDA would not like quite that much carbs in their diet on a daily basis. You can also make notations on substitute ingredients and standard recipe directions, depending on the products or ingredients that you're creating. Those are not going to be something that are filled in on the spreadsheet. Those will be done here on the website as you need them. Now, down here you also have manufacturer, product code, commodity recipe code. If you remember on that front page when we first went to the ingredients, you had those options to search by. If you did not fill any of those in, you're not going to be able to search by them. They are optional. They are not required. You do not have to put that information, but it does give you an additional method of being able to search for items or confirm that they're the same as the ingredient, from the ingredient to the stock item that you're planning on using it. It lets you know, was this the Tyson chicken or was this the Oak Farms chicken? And it just gives you a little extra piece of information so you know if that's what you have in your freezer, do I want to use that one or do I want to use the other one? It gives you a way to track it and find it. The other thing you have on this page is tags. Tags are a really, really, really neat thing in the software. You have them on your ingredients, you have them on your recipes, and you have them on your menus so that you can go through and tag an item for a specific purpose if you should need it. I know one of the most popular tags we see is pork, to be able to tag your pork products. So you know you can pull those up and, okay, I got to make sure I get these on the menu for this particular week. I've had districts who use tags to mark commodity items, to mark specific seasonal fruits and vegetables that they can get from their produce person cheaper at certain times of the year, things like that. And so there's all different functions that you can use for your tags. Lots of different ones. Go ahead and scroll down. Now the other thing is we were filling out your ingredient spreadsheet. We had your serving size and your serving weight that had to be added. This is how they appear in the software. Now what this does is it allows a correlation between your serving size, the manner in which you're going to serve it, and your inventory item. In this particular instance, we have a bag, single serving bag of those tortilla chips, and you're telling the software that that is my serving size. I am going to hand out the bag of those chips to each student as he comes through the line. That is essentially your menu item for that particular ingredient. Now that's the first page of everything that you've entered into your spreadsheet for the ingredient itself. Now some of the other tabs, if you scroll up for me. As we go across, we have nutrients. Scroll down. And these are going to be the same nutrients that you entered on your spreadsheet. Going across those tabs will be the same with your allergens. Anything that you entered on the spreadsheet will show up on that page. No idea what that was. While we're here, go ahead and click on the gluten for me. We're in the training database, so we can't damage it. And click Save for me. Anytime you make an adjustment to your allergens or any other aspect of your menu ingredient, it will get tagged. Your allergens get tagged with who made that change, and that's going to change depending on the login. So if Sherry were logged in right now and made that change, it would be tagged with her username. If Daniel were to go in and modify this later, then it would be logged with his login, and it would give you when it was modified. You have the initial added by, and you have the subsequent modified by field on it. If you uncheck that for me and click Save again, it does remove all that aspect, but you do not lose that history. Clicking on the History tab lets you know that there were changes made on the Allergens tab. If you click to Show Details, it lets you know that the old value was that it contained the gluten allergen, and the new value has nothing, that they removed that allergen. So that information can be tracked. And as you look down, you can see as well, it tells you what tab any changes or modifications were made. So it shows that changes were made on the General tab. And again, you can see those details by clicking on Details, and it'll tell you any of those changes. Now, of course, all of this information came in from your ingredient spreadsheet. So now we get to do the fun stuff and go add a new ingredient. Now, districts, I always have them bring their ingredients with them. The typical request is that they bring 3 or 4 items, one that can be served by itself as an actual menu item, and 2 or 3 others that can be turned into a recipe after next lesson. We'll be providing those for all of you as homework. Districts don't have to be handed homework. They already have notebooks upon notebooks, like 4-inch binders full of labels, and some of them have a whole shelf full of all of these binders. And they get to sit down with those and start entering them. That's why they like the spreadsheets. They just kind of get to go across the page. Some of them, depending on the size of the district, depending on how many notebooks they have, they'll actually get contractors to come in, some of them. Others, it's up to 1 or 2 people to sit down with those notebooks and start entering, and they will spend hours upon hours and weekends with those lovely notebooks. For you, I brought you something because I didn't tell you to bring anything. So what we have, I have handed her peanut butter cookies. They're 3 ingredients, quick and easy. Now, each of those has the ingredients. So there's peanut butter, egg, and granulated sugar. So what we're going to do is head up here and add new ingredients. None of these ingredients are currently in the system. And so you'll see that when you first click Add New Ingredient, you only have 1 tab, just that General tab. That's what you start with. You don't get your other tabs until you type in the initial information on this page. Continue. Okay. So peanut butter, of course, is your ingredient name. You can enter a short name if you want. It is not a required field. So. The ingredient name versus short name typically comes about when they're performing different in their recipes and stuff. And if it becomes the menu item, it allows them to use that short name as their marketing name as well.
They're being purchased?
As purchased, because you're not serving it in the jar.
Mm-hmm.
Substitute ingredients, again, if you don't have any, you don't have to worry about it. If you're not going to use a substitute, you don't have to worry about it. Many people use the substitute from inventory instead of in the ingredient section, so it can be performed from either direction. Standard recipe directions. In this particular case, you don't really have any directions that need to be associated with your peanut butter. Typically, you don't cook it, you don't heat it up, you don't necessarily do anything specific with it every time you use it.
Okay.
So in and of itself, it doesn't need it. That field is great if it's a product that you will always perform a certain task with. If you know that you will always slice through the bagels, or whole bagels unsliced, you know that you have to slice through those bagels, that would be an instruction that would pertain to those bagels every time you use them, no matter how you use them. So even if they're used as an ingredient to make a bagel pizza, then that particular task direction would go with that bagel no matter where you use it. Again, the manufacturer, product code, recipe codes are not required fields. You can use those if it makes it easier later to look up this particular ingredient to use in your recipe.
Sure, the product code and manufacturer's product code as a sponsor?
Yes. So you can take the UPC, use the number off the box, the case, or the individual item. Typically, they will use your vendor number from their inventory, and that way it allows them to run through their inventory sheets and go, oh, yeah, we have like 20 cases of that we need to use. They can type in that item and look it up that way. Or from the search page of ingredients, if they have their inventory item number from inventory in Camaro Edge, then they can put that number in instead there and pull it up as well. You'll just click that Save button, and you'll see that you have the rest of your tabs that we showed you before. And typically, we just go straight across those different tabs to enter the information. However, we have not done something on the General tab that we need to do.
Want me to click copy?
Once you click Save, if you'll scroll down for me, we open up a new section. This is your serving size and serving measure, serving weight. Now again, you entered these on the spreadsheet for all of those items that we imported. And in this instance, because we're manually entering it, we have to manually enter that information as well. Most of your product labels will contain a suggested serving size with its correlated weight, whether in grams or ounces. And so that information can typically be pulled right there from your product.
Bill, that's coming off the sheet you gave me.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is.
Should I do preferred?
You do not have to do preferred, but we will explain that after you put the other back.
Okay.
Serving measure added successfully. Now, in some instances, you may utilize a preferred serving size or serving measure. This is going to be helpful in production if you want it to withdraw in a specific form. So if you always, always, always want your peanut butter to come out from your production as a whole jar, 1.5 jars, 1 3/4 jars, then you could select jar as your preferred serving measure, and that would always be the one that comes up. Now, if you prefer it to come out as tablespoons or cups, then you can select those, and it will always come out in your production with that particular measure. So you can adjust how you want it to appear in production. In many instances, we will have districts who enter, say, bananas as a weight, and then realize, this would be so much easier if they knew to pull 30 bananas, not 16 pounds of bananas. And so you can adjust it and tell it, let's use not 7 ounces. And so they'll set it as that each so that it pulls out the production in that way. You don't want them having to blade their bananas and cook for the best. Count them out and put them out on the in the line. No idea what that was. You'll also see that it does conversions for you automatically. When you enter in your serving measures, it will break it down to other serving sizes. In some recipes, such as your cookies, you may use it as a cup at a time, a half cup at a time, and so forth. However, you may use the same peanut butter to make those peanut butter sandwiches that go on the field trip. And when you do that, you may take a tablespoon or two instead of the cup and use that in your recipe itself. So by having the conversions automatically in the system, when you create your recipe, which we'll do next week, not today, when you create your recipe, you'll have those different options to choose from. Now you get to go to the next page. Okay. So the next tab is your nutrients tab. Now, you'll correlate your serving size that you just did here on this page. Typically, it's going to be provided on that label again. As I said, it'll typically give you 2 tablespoons. It'll give you a half cup. Whatever it is on that particular label, it will give a suggested serving size. You've already put the suggested serving weight with it on that previous page, so it will automatically fill that in for you. Your labels will provide a large quantity of that information. It's a full cup of peanut butter, yes. There is a significant quantity of fat in a full cup of peanut butter. You normally stick a spoon in the jar and use the spoon, not the entire cup. That will contain a significant quantity of protein in that entire cup as well, yes. Now, you do see check boxes down this screen. Now, you'll see that they're under the label is missing. So before you complete, I'm going to have you click on the checkbox next to iron for me. And down there, you'll see that this M showed up in parentheses. That correlates with the is missing. So any items, particularly since you did perform an import, any items that did not have a nutrient in them will show that M. So if you run a report for your ingredients and you see that M anywhere, it means that it was not entered and is marked as is missing. Now, if you do have the information, you can, of course, go to that particular ingredient, fill in the information, and it'll remove the M from the report and give you the number that you've entered. There will also be instances where some of your nutrients will be done in the form of percentages instead of the milligrams and international units in the vitamin A. And so you have the option to fill in either one of those, and it will automatically fill out the other. So if you fill in the percentage, it fills in the number. If you fill in the number, it fills in the percentage. And so all of that will be tabulated automatically for you.
Why does it have ash at the bottom of that? Why is that? How is ash included?
There are some products that will have ash in their nutrients. I ran across, I think, 3. Now, don't ask me what they were. I don't remember. But there actually are products that will list moisture and ash on their labels. And so for those items, you'll want to include them because they are there.
What happens if they just didn't put is missing?
Good question. Go ahead and click that save button for me.
Okay.
Now we have a rotten red message. Now we always try to get a happy green message, and we're not going to get one because we have left off key pieces of information, and that note tells you exactly what you failed to do. It's an easy fix. It gives you the instructions. And now we have our happy green message because we did fill in those blanks. So it does either want a number or an is missing on each item down that page. Never, never, never want your rotten red messages. Now, you'll also see on the right-hand side of the page, USDA requires that you are able to provide the nutrients for 100-gram measurements of every ingredient that you have in your system. We do that for you. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to consider it. It's all automatic. So there's a little bit of magic there for you. And so all of that is entered and is on the ingredient report as well. You'll click on that button for me. That's lovely. That's not supposed to be blank. And I have some people downstairs who will be very happy to take care of that for me. Can you make a note? I don't think I did bring a pen. Typically, this ingredient report will give you all of the details, nutrients, allergens, and so forth that you've been entering on this particular ingredient. And it does not normally show up blank, so I am going to have somebody on my team take care of that for me. And I can pull this report up on a different site for you to show you what it looks like. Yeah, it's not going to help. Now, the next tab over is going to be the allergens tab. Now, of course, your allergens tab has the option. Can you click on that again for me? Pop that open for me. You have the option, and those of your labels will give you one of these: contain, may contain, or processed in a facility that also processes, and then it gives you the appropriate allergens. So you can select the one. Now, obviously, peanut butter actually contains peanuts in it.
This one might be like...
Well, I'm sure it's the Kroger brand, too. Maybe even Peter Pan. And, of course, once you enter in any of those allergens, you click that Save button, and it will again show you you're the person who has entered that information. And you get your happy green message. Always a good thing. Now, if you scroll down to the bottom, it does give you some information about those allergens. We include the allergens that are in the Food Allergen Labeling and Consumer Protection Act. Those are the ones that are entered into the software for you to use. If you need other allergens notated, we can get those in. It's a development request, and we can get that taken care of. It's rare that you need additional than this section. Most of the time, any additional allergens that you need to notate are handled in the point of service section. It also states that the USDA CN database that the USDA provides does not contain allergen information. And again, I'll be showing you how to copy those items if you wish to use them, save them as a local ingredient so that you'll be able to enter that allergen information if you wish to use those products. Go ahead and scroll up. Our next tab is your Buying Guide tab. Now, the Buying Guide tab will function for you whether you have inventory or not in Primero Edge. We provide this for you so that you can do your recipe costing information in the menu planning arena without access to that inventory module. Now, of course, we do not have peanut butter in our inventory module here, so we get to add it. So if you click on that Create Stock Item button, it pops up with a window. This is the exact same window you'll receive in inventory. Again, whether you have the inventory portion of the software or not, you will receive the exact same pop-up so that you can enter your information.
How do you know if it's in your inventory or not?
If you have inventory or not, it will show up in your licensing details under System.
How do we know if peanut butter is
And that's all.
Is there a way when you get to this tab to know whether it's in inventory or?
Absolutely. Go ahead and close this window for me. talked about the smart search that occurs everywhere in menu planning. So if you start typing in a word here, you have an peanut butter in here. You can select that one if you know that it's the correct inventory item that you already have. Now, when you select it, it fills in your whole unit, broken unit size and weight from your inventory section. The other part that you still have to fill out, however, is the prep method. And there is a drop down. Once you select your inventory item, if it's in there, you can click that Save button. Now, in most instances, of course, your edible portion factor will be 1. You will have products that you use, ingredients that you use that may have a different edible portion factor, and you can modify that. Most of that's going to be on things. A watermelon is one of my favorite examples. I think that the edible portion factor of a watermelon is 0.61 because you don't typically serve the rind. You only serve the inside of the watermelon. So while that watermelon may weigh 17 pounds, not all 17 pounds is edible. So if you actually insert the edible portion factor, it takes that 17-pound watermelon, tells you what is edible, and when you portion it out to serve, it takes that into account so that in production, you'll know that I need 42 watermelons to serve all 600 students. And it'll do all of that math for you.
I know this where you would also consider cooking. What happens to the portion of it when it's cooked, or is that what it is?
If there's a portion of it that gets removed from it with cooking, that can be entered here as well. I believe chicken, because of the bone, I know that they have a different edible portion factor if you're serving a chicken leg drumstick and things such as that. Now, for your ground meat, when you brown it and you're going to lose a portion of that because of the fat, there's a different section to enter that information. And we'll get to that when we get to cooking.
Very nice.
Yes.
And for the prep methods, are those like pre-populated, or is there a place we can go to add more in?
We have the as purchased, cooked, and drained in there. If you click on configuration for me. I have that. Those are going to be it.
So if we needed more, that would be a request as well?
Correct.
Okay.
Hi, Bruce. The king is here.
Better late than never.
Now, you also have the ability to set the display item weight in production. In many instances, you may not need that information. Peanut butter is going to be one of them because you're going to use the jar. And again, if that's the easiest way for them to pull that product from their inventory in production, then you can leave it as such. Some of the things that you may want the item weight on would be your vegetables and your fruits, possibly cheeses, meats, things like that. So you have the option to choose whether or not you want that weight to display in production or not. Now, if you scroll down for me, because we have the information coming from inventory or from your purchase item, however it was entered, you do have the serving size with the cost that's related to that serving size. And so if you had entered a serving size of a teaspoon instead of a cup, it would show you the serving size for a teaspoon. Yeah.
Is this my preferred measure? Is that why I picked 1 cup?
Did you select a preferred measure on the front desk?
I think so. I don't know if that matches this peanut butter.
Go back to the general tab for me and scroll down. So if you select a different one, leave it and select tablespoon. And go ahead and scroll up and go back to your buying guide tab and scroll down for me. It automatically saves when you change your tab. Scroll up. Back here.
Let's check off one more.
Yeah. Because that way it explains to you how you use it as well. Go ahead and scroll down. Uncheck the cup scroll up. And for John Mark, it's auto save when switching tabs. Go ahead and go back to buying guide and scroll down. Let's still set the cap so that it only keeps the one that you used initially. The one you type in is what it's keeping.
I'm not supposed to help. No?
Well, the king has entered. So yes, it's related to the one that you have actually entered in. So if you had done an import on this item, it would only show that particular serving size and the cost related to it.
You want to change that? You realize you did wrong?
You would have to manually enter on that general tab a different serving size for it to give you a different serving measure on that buying guide tab.
Checking the box is not updating the buying guide tab?
No. I can totally ask my developer about that. Go ahead and scroll up for me. Okay, so we have gone through the general tab with all of the required information, the nutrients tab, and we have entered in all of our nutrients. The allergens tab, which we've entered our peanuts and tree nuts as our allergens, and the buying guide tab to associate it with an inventory or stock item. The next one on here is the documents. And this is a handy-dandy one. I've mentioned already that I know most districts have lots of 3-ring binders, 4- and 6-inch 3-ring binders full of product labels and manufacturer information. You can now upload that information into Primero Edge, and you don't have to pull out those binders anymore. It's all right there on the page. It's an easy upload. Click that upload button. Just as with any other software that you use, or if you're familiar with the students in here where you can add documents, you can select the file that you're searching for. That could be an easy place to go in my computer. Yeah, you can exit that and click cancel down at the bottom. Once you've selected your file, of course, you can upload it. It does give you the different allowed extensions, whether it's a text document, Excel, PDF, JPEG, bitmap, any of those graphic type documents. You would select it, click the upload button. You'll get your happy message that it was saved successfully, and then you'll be able to see if they're on the screen.
If they uploaded like the wrong file, can they go in and take it out,
Yeah.
or do they actually have to like send it over?
Any documents that you list, of course, currently they're 0, and that number will change as you upload multiple documents. So if you have one label and you have one manufacturer piece of information, and then you have another piece that shows the allergens, so you may have 3 documents on this particular one instead of all at once. So you would have a 3 up there if that's the case, and they would each be listed here on the right-hand side of the page. And they will have one of the little trash can recycle symbols next to it. So if you ever do need to remove documentation or change documentation, you can take out the old and upload new. Now the other really handy-dandy nifty thing on here is your history tab. We talked about the fact that as you go through and you enter information, change information, or update information, it still tracks all of that. I know I showed you when we were looking at the allergens that you could see when it was added, when it was modified, and then come here if you remove it to show that something was performed on that page. And so any other changes that you made, we went back and forth to the buying guide tab, the general tab, so all of that information does show up here. And again, it will be associated with whoever is logged in at the time that the change or modification was performed. So if Kelly had been logged in at the time and made an adjustment, then it would be associated with her login as opposed to Sarah Ann having been in there previously. Okay, I was going to pick on you at some point. At least you're not snoring yet. This is good. Any questions for me? Besides the fact that the one report doesn't work and I have to go make somebody fix that for me.
What's the no prompts checkbox?
That's any of those pop-ups that you see that come up. If I, there you go. You saw when it said loading across the page, and it had the blue with loading and the little dots running under it, or if it needed you to additionally enter more information when we failed to enter the moisture and ash check boxes, instead of having that little box pop up, it would just show it at the top.
This little pop-up that was over here. It would only be up here.
Only up there. Now, any stock items that you enter into the system, if you click on the stock items there on the left-hand side of your page, can be found here on this page. Go ahead and scroll down for me. Now, again, these items are actually in your inventory module, but they are also stock items that you've associated here in inventory or in ingredients, and so they will show up here on this page for you as well as stock items. So even if a user does not have access to inventory, that user can still access those items here on the inventory page, on the ingredients tab, menu planning.
Where's the storage category? Where do you input that in?
The storage category is part of the configuration and inventory, different training.
Okay.
Now, do we want to enter a product for new stock items? Yeah, let's do it. Go ahead and go back to your ingredients. We're going to go add an ingredient and take on another one because you've only done one. So now I have to make sure that you can do it.
Okay.
That's also the reason I generally have them bring at least 3 items to the training, because that way I can walk them through the first one. I can answer questions as they do the second one, and on the third one I typically keep my mouth shut and make sure that they're able to do it. Me, keep my mouth shut? I know, yeah.
Nobody said that.
I'm wondering.
I can pick up my coffee. I'd be quiet for a few seconds that way.
Everybody was
Right? Just ask Gordon, he knows.
Because this said whole.
Technically, you can call it whatever you need to call it for your ingredients. I know that that's what it's showing as on that particular label. Many districts will have their own process for labeling their ingredients. They're used to doing it a certain way. Some may give chicken, comma, breaded, comma, patty, and then a stock item number even. And
USDA requirements for how they need?
not that I have heard about. So others will just generically put whatever you want to put, whatever you want to name it, you can name it.
Okay. I like that.
What is our serving measure?
It says 1 large.
You can start typing there and see if it narrows down.
Okay.
So that's something you can also use for like 1 each.
Yes. That's all dependent on how you want it to show up in production.
One thing to note is that eggs come in different sizes.
Correct.
They come in small, medium, large, extra large, different grading, all that kind of stuff. So having 1 large would be better than 1 each.
Okay.
And I can answer that.
But typically, most will also have that information in the name of the ingredient as well, so that they know that they're using it, therefore using each with function. It's not going to remove that.
Okay.
Now again, if there's any information not on the label that shows you need it on that page, you can of course put that is missing box.
Okay.
If there are zeros, you definitely want to input those so you don't have that M on your report.
If you, I mean, how does it affect everything if you put any of this stuff in wrong? Does it matter?
It will absolutely affect your nutritional analysis when you go to use this ingredient in your recipes and menu items. So you do want accuracy when you're entering your information.
You don't want to leave this stuff blank.
If you leave it blank and mark that is missing box, your reports will show that M in parentheses that I showed you earlier. And so when you run your nutritional analysis, it will show that M. So if it's an important one that you need, you'll want to go back, verify whether or not it was on that label or not. So if you get audited, you need to prove that you have checked that. I really did. It's not there.
I mentioned keyboard friendly.
Keyboard friendly at the top means you can navigate through that page using the arrow key on your keyboard, or the tab key, or the enter key. That's correct.
Where is that?
Yay, and we found one that's not in there. So we clicked on the Create Stock Item button because we do not have egg. We searched for it. It did not come up. So now we get to actually enter a stock item to associate with this ingredient. Now again, this will function whether you have the inventory module or not. Most of the districts will know whether it's commodity food or non-commodity food.
Here's a good question. Is an egg a breakfast entree or is it a baking?
How are you going to use it?
So if you have multiple uses, or if you have two,
You self-select one.
okay.
Now, it doesn't prevent you from using it for other purposes, but it shows you where it's going to be classified as. Some of them may put marshmallows in the baking section, and others will put it over on the candy section. So,
Okay, so I don't know what my item number is.
that one should, are you able to type in that box? I don't know if those populate in this one or not. That's fine.
And then, whoops.
In many instances, districts will have particular item numbers that they've used locally in their district for years, and that's going to be the number that they apply there. They know that Mary Jo over at the elementary has been entering her milk as 1174 for the last 38 years, and they are not going to change that and screw up Mary Jo in the way she functions. So they're going to leave it as 1174. And so if there are particular numbers that you use for your products that your managers are accustomed to using for those products, then by all means, we can set it to allow you to enter those numbers. If you're starting fresh and don't need those numbers, we can, of course, set it to auto-generate, auto-populate numbers for you for your products.
I'm wondering what my broken units would be.
When you receive your case or carton of eggs and you open it up, what do you see inside? Now, for you, typically, you're buying your carton from the store and you can open it up and there's 18 eggs in it.
Right.
Now, for a school district, however, they're going to get it as a giant case. They're going to open it up and they may have 4 flats of eggs, or they may have 8 cartons of eggs. We'll do that one. Go with the carton. And so it would be 8 cartons. Where are you? Hold on. You're in whole unit. So for your whole unit, it's going to be the case, big jumbo size, large quantities. And so when you open that case, you have, we'll say 8 broken units.
Okay.
And those broken units are in the form of a carton. inside of each one of those cartons would be your broken unit size, 18, and your drop down of 18 what?
Each?
Yeah. And your broken unit weight. Now that's going to be, how much was your egg weight?
50 pounds.
All units per pallet, you don't need to worry about that unless you're using bins in your central warehouse.
Do I need to worry about if it's a commodity food?
Most of the districts will know if it's commodity or non-commodity. You will have to select that next field of item type, whether it's commodity, non-commodity, or non-food.
Okay.
And those pertain to your valuation report as well as your ability to perform your inventory. Your fair market value, what is the cost of this case of eggs, the entire whole unit?
Like $20.
Sure. Sounds great. Yes, ma'am.
Broken unit weight, are you saying each egg is 50 grams?
That is what we have said.
I thought that field was supposed to be the 18 times. That's what 18 times, and that's just learning this.
There's 18 eaches in the carton. Each one is the 50 grams.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just told recently, though, that broken unit weight should represent the total weight of the whole
That's right.
broken unit size.
So it needs to be the 18.
18 times 50.
Would like to
So
calculate.
you have to do math.
Change it to 12 each and put 600. Because I have it on that page already. I did that math.
Yeah.
I thought, and then I was corrected, so.
Now we got
Wait, why is it broken unit?
Now we're saying there's
Because
12.
I already put that math on the page to make life easy.
So the broken unit is 1 dozen eggs,
Correct.
and 1 dozen eggs is 50 grams for each egg.
Correct. She hasn't gotten there yet.
So what?
Where do you store your eggs?
Oh.
Storage category.
Okay. Do I have to worry about my invoice or my whole units per pallet?
No.
All right. Dairy.
Bid category is going to be if you use the bid analysis module. And by selecting that, if they are something that you use bid analysis for, then you would be able to put it in that bid category to select when you request bids from different companies.
I'm sorry, can you say that again? I totally missed it.
Not a problem. On your bid category, you set those up to use with your bid analysis. And in your bid analysis, you will typically select that I want to get a bid from these companies for these type of products. So you may select bread, and I want bids for these particular bread items from these companies. If it's produce, you can do so with the different produce companies that are in your particular area. Giving it a category for the bid category. In bid analysis, you select that bid category, it'll automatically display the products that you have selected to appear in that category.
Go ahead and add.
Yes, ma'am. Add item.
Okay, now I have my stock item.
You have your
That's
stock
just
item, and
added.
you still have to. So now all of that information is as you've entered it on your stock item.
So it should be raw.
This raw, so yes, it probably would be as purchased if using it raw.
How are you going to use it?
It could be.
In its current form, it's as purchased. You're using it as you purchased it. You're not doing anything with it yet.
Okay, that's it there.
Correct. Once you click that Save button, it'll give you your pricing down at the bottom of the page. Up until then, it was displaying as 0. So once you save it, you get that each egg is 21 cents. And again, you have all of the details for that item as you've entered it. And unfortunately, we can't run the ingredient report. I still have to talk to somebody about that report. Yeah, see, that's what it's doing. It's on a training site, so I'll have to have Javier check
Should I
it.
add my sugar?
Absolutely. Third ingredient.
I think it would be a person.
Yeah, you don't typically serve sugar.
Yeah.
USDA might slightly frown on that. Some parents might too. And if you're babysitting and about to leave and you really don't like your parents, well, it's a whole different discussion.
Joanna, you might have answered this already too, but
Yes.
what was that sub-ingredient box for?
Um,
What is normally put in there?
When you want to associate something else with it, let your cooks know, managers know, these are the different items that you can use in place of this.
Oh, okay. Substitute it.
Substitute.
Okay.
No? Why are you frowning at me? What do you use it for? Because that's the only thing I've ever seen anybody use it for. What was your intent behind that field? Because they use substitute items mostly in the inventory realm.
What are the ingredients that go into? What is the ingredient made of? Sugar in this case is just sugar, so it doesn't really make a lot of sense. But if you're serving a muffin, what goes into that muffin?
Gotcha. That's the intent.
So if somebody doesn't like coconut or something like that, you know, they see coconut and sub ingredients. I don't eat pork because of religion or something. That's one of the ways that you can get it.
And does that show up on the recipe report? Where does it show up?
It shows up on the
So not anything that the kids are going to actually see.
yeah, it's on the
Display
the kids
signage?
aren't going to see the recipe before, right?
The signage?
Yes, that's it.
It does show up on the signage then? Okay. That's good to know. Got everything complete, and I have your green message. Allergens for sugar?
No. Should I say that?
There you go, none indicated. Now when you click the save button next to none indicated, it's going to do just as it did below and give the timestamp, date stamp, and the user that added that. And we do not have a stock item of sugar. And so in this one, your whole unit would be the bag, the 20-pound bag.
So bag for whole unit and then broken units.
Would be the 1
pound?
Correct. There's only 1 bag of sugar.
Okay.
Could you also say something like There's 20 pounds.
You
in
could?
that.
Is
Here?
that how you want it to measure out? Do you want it to be 45 cups? Do you want it to be 20 pounds? How do you want your cooks to pull this out of their inventory when they pull it in production? You want them to pull the whole bag? You want them to come out and it says they use 0.26 of a bag? Or do you want them to use a certain quantity of cups or pounds? So it can be done by any of those methods.
Yeah.
It's purchased in a 20-pound bag. That is how you purchase it. It depends on how the district wants it. I mean, just as in the eggs, do you want it as one each? Do you want it one large? Do you want it to be, I mean, the different ingredients can be pulled in whatever manner they're already accustomed to using.
Can you order it in broken units?
No. You can't order 12 cups, not for your sugar. It's a 20-pound bag. You can't order a broken 20-pound bag of sugar.
Or you could say,
So I guess it depends on the item,
Yes,
on how you order it and how you inventory it.
correct. So are they going to take that 20-pound bag after it's been opened and at time to inventory it, are they going to put it on the scale and weigh it to see that they have 7 pounds left?
so would I put one bag here and then put 20 pounds for my size? Or that would be weight?
I would probably do 20 broken units.
20.
The whole unit is the one bag. I would do 20 broken units for 20 pounds. Broken unit description of pounds. Broken unit size would be 1 pound. And then, of course, your broken unit weight would be the same, 1 pound. And so in most kitchens, there actually is a ginormous scale that they'll go and pick stuff and weigh it. Cheeses, when they have 5-pound bags of cheese, they'll actually go and measure it to see how much they have left or how much they've used for a day so that they can put that in on their production sheet and make sure that everything's correct. Fair market value, 20-pound bag of sugar, yeah, it's $14.
And then what if it's not really dairy or flavor?
The bid category isn't a necessary or required field, but it does auto-select one, doesn't
Can you
it?
change it later?
You can.
What if you don't want it there?
There used to be a none option there. I don't know why there's not.
Correct. So, and this is 511, so I'll have to check on that. But yeah, I know there used to be a default is what it had in there. And of course, once you click that save button again, when you scroll down, it will give you your cost. Again, documents would be any label information that you want to input. And history shows who's done what and when.
Okay.
And that's it. We have entered ingredients, we have associated them with existing stock items, and we have created stock items for those that didn't already exist in the system. That is menu planning 1.
Good job.
I totally missed out on the berries. Any other questions? Okay, everybody has an assignment? Absolutely. You want that one, or do you want one that it's printed instead of typed as handwritten? Okay. Your homework. Your homework is in the form of a packet. Again, the district will generally have all of their ingredients that they need to enter, so we don't hand out ingredients for them to enter into the system.
Because if they didn't bring them, they most of them will have you go ahead and import them, but
Yes. Yes. Which you have seen some of those spreadsheets, Sarah?
Yes.
your lovely spreadsheet.
Yes. They're PDF. And so that's what happens with those spreadsheets. They get in there. Now, each of you has a packet. The packet contains ingredients with their associated nutritionals and possible allergens if they are already associated with them. Your assignment, so at the top of the first page, there's a website for you to log into. And we did not put a username and password for them to use. Give you the CS support. Most of you are familiar with CS support as a login. In this particular website, the password is password.
All lowercase.
All lowercase.
Ultra secure.
Ultra secure, yes. Yes.
Nobody would ever get
Worked
this.
hard for this one. I'm not here, they won't.
And if you can't read that website across the top, it's my bad handwriting, so just IM me, and I'll
So if you log in, you can enter these ingredients. That is your assignment for the week. You will also find attached to those a recipe. That recipe is part of next week's lesson, so don't lose it. You get to use those ingredients to put together a recipe after next week. Two? He needs another packet.
Before we leave, everybody sign in for me so I can check. Oh, thank you.
Somebody might get you on your team.
You gotta give credit on teamwork.
If you're on team.
If you're on team.
If you're not on team, we're talking.
Or we can have your kitchen stitcher if you have a full time. You should be, we're using our system to check the.
Yeah, but that's it. He's bad.
Yeah.
There's one here specifically for,
Oh, is it?
yeah, no, there's specifically one for all employees.
That's it.
It's not going to get overwritten with an update or.
It was a track on it for 3 months.
Oh, good. As long as I didn't have to do anything, I'm okay with that. There's always somebody watching. I shoot him back with a Nerf gun, so it's okay.
I guess that's, once you sign in, you're good.
Yes, please.
The nobody's going around.
Please leave.
Or you can, no, just say please sign in.
Stop the recording.